Welcome card readers, April here on Tarot and Witchery, and I was inspired to share with you my summer solstice reading that I'll be doing. You can do this with tarot or oracle. I'm going to run you through it, and at the end I'm just going to run over the cards that I drew. This is a mock reading, but I'll just talk about those cards for those of you that are maybe interested in how I might read these cards. I do have a PDF printable of the spread that you can get on my website, tarotandwitchery.com. And there is a link down below. This is in my free learning library. So head on over there if you want to get a printable of this. You can print it in grayscale too, but it is in color if you like that. And when you do that, you'll be signed up for my newsletter, which comes super infrequently. But yeah, there's all sorts of freebies in there, so check it out. Okay, this is a 10 card spread, and I chose a 10 card spread because solstice is or summer solstice, every solstice is a gateway to the other half of the year. The summer solstice is a gateway to the dark half of the year. And so 10 in the tarot, of course, is endings, but it's also beginnings. I always say that in the 10s, there's a little seed of dissatisfaction that is planted in the next season. So 10 card spread, use tarot or oracle. Let's jump into it. Super easy. If you're a brand new reader, you can do this. Just don't overcomplicate it, okay? As I said, you can get this. Now I have a cat that's meowing at the door, of course, to get in because I'm in here doing something and my daughter just woke up upstairs and now she's tromping around. Anyway, this is the layout of it. You can see. And so this is what we're going to start with. Your first card that you want to start with in the center is either the Sun card from the tarot or a card that represents the summer solstice for you. And I chose this one from the Green Wheel Oracle. There you go. It's by Daniel Barlow. I love this, the Green Wheel Oracle. If you're interested in this oracle, I have a review of it on my 3 magical decks video. Okay, so this is our Sun card. So like I said, you can choose a Sun card or something that represents the summer solstice for you, midsummer. Like maybe you don't celebrate Litha, you're not a pagan, but you do kind of follow the seasons and cycles. So what is midsummer to you? And you'll put that in the center, and that's kind of your reference card. I've chosen the Green Witch Tarot because I feel like this is the perfect tarot for summer solstice. I just love the vibe of this. So I'm going to use tarot, but again, you can just use oracle. And I'm going to kind of go quickly through these positions here and get this little mock reading. Our first card goes right up above. What was the greatest gift of the light half of the year? So that's solstice to solstice. What's the greatest gift? And that goes, ooh, the Tower. The Wild Hunt. And that has interesting significance, just the Wild Hunt itself. But that is the Tower card. Interesting to get as the greatest gift. And actually that really fits for me. I'm then going to move over and do the lesson learned about myself during the light half. So what lesson did I learn about myself? That's going to go right over there. And I got the Page of Wands. Yeah, that totally fits. I can't wait to kind of talk about these cards and how they fit, even though this is kind of just a mock reading. I will talk about it. Your next card is something in the physical realm that I made great strides in during the light half of the year that I should celebrate. You know, sometimes for me, all of the Sabbats are a time to check in. And so, you know, what is it that I've done in the physical realm? What have I created or sown or made during the light half of the year that I should be celebrating? Look at that. There's one that's right side up. I'm going to just pull that one out. I think that's it. 5 of Chalices. That's a really interesting card to get. Okay, so I just chose to pull that one out. We'll see what that means. Okay, now we're going to move down here, and this kind of represents, where am I at on this? Like, let's move this stuff up a little bit. I don't have a ton of room here. Okay, so right here is kind of our horizon line. So this is the sun rises on the summer solstice, and then as it sets, we enter into the dark half of the year. So this is the dark half of the year down here that I'll be talking about next. So we're going to look at the doorway to self that I enter as I greet the dark half of the year. All right, and I got the Four of Wands. Oh, that feels really right on, which is so interesting for moving into a waning half of the year to be at a card that talks about building. And I'll talk about that more later in the video. Oops. Next, I'm going to do an important way to honor my inner world during the dark half. So again, this is kind of forecasting. What is an important way that I can honor my inner world, my inner mind, my inner workings during the dark half? And I got the Four of Athames. That's so interesting. So 4 of Swords and a 4 of Wands. And you guys saw me shuffling here. That's so interesting that that came up. Okay. Now I'm going to do over here. What should I allow to pass away or let go of during the dark half? So what should I allow to pass away or let go of during the dark half? Every season we should be letting go of something to let new things in. What am I going to allow to pass away? And sometimes things naturally remove themselves. That's the feeling I've had about this year. It's been a very natural flow. So what am I going to allow to pass away during the dark half of the year? Wheel of the Year. So the 10, that's an interesting message in itself. Okay, moving right along. Love these cards. Look at this. I love these cards. They're really cool. Beautiful. Right. Okay, so now I've got these last 2 cards and they're going to sit right here on the horizon, and they represent aspects that are touching both halves of the year. Okay. So that was my purpose of that. And you'll see that kind of on the handout. I've tried to create something that visually represents that. Okay. What internal work did I begin in the light half of the year that I reap greatly from during the dark half? So internal, you'll notice that this is the internal or the feminine, and this is the external physical or the masculine, divine masculine, divine feminine, divine masculine energies. Okay, so what internal work did I begin during the light half of the year that I will reap greatly from? And the High Priestess. Who doesn't want to get that for their internal that I'm going to have, that I started up here, that I'm taking into the dark half of the year? Number 9. What in the physical world did I begin that I will harvest from in the dark half of the year? So this is really about like sowing something maybe I was creating or started that in the light half of the year that I'm really going to reap a harvest from. It's important to harvest things that we sow from. All right. And I got, oh my gosh, the High Priest. Look at that, you guys. You heard me shuffling. Super great mock reading. I'll be taking a picture of this and putting it in my journal. Okay, we have one more card, and I'm going to work from an oracle deck. I'm working from the Enchanted Art Oracle cards by Mimi Pettibone. I do have a review of this deck on my channel here, and this is a super affordable deck, you guys. It's like $20 for this. I mean, and I have really enjoyed this. So our 10th card, right? 10, new beginnings, right? Finishing up the effulgence of something and a new beginning on the horizon. 10 is 1 and 0. 1, which is new beginnings, and 0, which is the Fool in the tarot, which is the cosmic, never-ending Ouroboros right there, the 0. What encouragement does the magical world wish to give me? So this is your encouragement card. If magical world throws you, you could say God or goddess, or if you're, atheist, like what encouragement do I need right now? Maybe it's, maybe you want to say higher self, but this is your encouragement card. And for me, it's from the magical world. Oh, I feel like it's right there. I feel like it's this one. Is that one card? Yeah, that's the one. Dun-da-da, my encouragement is, don't push the river, let it flow. That's really cool. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to doing a mock reading. If you made it this far and you're not going to go on, please go ahead and leave me 3 suns down below in the comments and let me know what you think of this reading. And now I'm going to kind of go into a mock reading, which This is just my off the cuff, you guys. I'm probably going to come back and look at this because I do feel like this reading is for me. But I'm going to tell you, like, right away, the first thing I'm going to do when I look at this reading is I'm just going to let my eyes look at this as though it's a picture. I'm not going to try to let my mind grab onto the meanings of the cards or what I think they mean or what they should mean or any of that. I'm just going to look at it like a picture. The first thing I notice is that both of these characters here are facing the same way. They're facing into the new half of the year that I'm entering into. And I love that their backs are to this part of the year that's passing away, and which is, you know, what it would be. And then I love that they are stirring something, like they're stirring the pot, so to speak. And that is what is coming into this part of the year. So that's the first thing that strikes me. And then, of course, I see that this is a jubilant day. This feels very convivial to me. And so the reading itself just feels really good. Just very positive. And I love all of these pictures. So, all right, let's start up here with, so this being, I want to talk about this being your center. Look how, you guys, I've been gardening. My hands just look so bad. So the center card, I want to think about the sun and the aspect of the sun as I look into this. If you are following the rhythms and cycles of the sun, then, you know, this is like the full moon experience, and this is like the dark moon experience over here. So this would be what has happened as the moon waxes, all of this as the moon waxes, and then this is the moon waning, right? This is the sun rising and the sun setting. Okay, and so I'm going to be thinking about that as I think about these cards. If that's too much for you, like if that's overwhelming, don't worry about it. So the first thing I see here, this is what's the greatest gift of the light half of the year is the Wild Hunt, and it was the Tower card. This makes a lot of sense to me because it has been a year where I just felt a lot of upheaval. I felt like, first of all, my body, I went through just some really hard points in menopause. And so I was tired. I was brain foggy. I really had to be down. I got sick so many times. I cannot believe how many times I got sick. It just was a time where external circumstances really came in and kind of shook up my whole world. I had the birth of my grandson, and then I had the death of my stepfather, and then I had the 10th anniversary of my mother's passing. There's just been a lot of stuff. I've had, you know, one of our daughters decided not to go back to college. Another daughter is breaking up. It's just, there's been a lot of things in my physical world and even my internal world. I've really felt like old systems, to me, this is old systems, like old ideas, things that I've built up in my mind, they just weren't working. And, you know, the universe came in, the YO universe came in and really, bam, took that out. And so it's interesting because it says, you know, this is my gift. And I do feel like it's a gift. I felt really kind of stuck, like I didn't know what to do, and I needed the universe to shake me. So I'm grateful. Gosh, I hope I didn't just jiggle the camera there. I'm grateful for that. And so sometimes when this card comes up, it can really be such a blessing because it's unmistakable. It really is. It's kind of like a 3 of Swords. They're unmistakable moments and they really call you to change. And so that was a gift this year. And then over here, the lesson I learned about myself during the light half of the year, and I got the Page of Wands. You see him casting this circle here, and he's just young, like he's an apprentice. To me, this really was a time of putting myself in a protective bubble, allowing myself to be in a space, a safe space that allowed me to sort of marinate in my own creative juices and just allow. I see wands as not just fire, but I see it as spirit, really flowing. I see all of them as spirit, but this is kind of the spiritual self alive. enlivened. And so for me, I do feel like this really was a lesson about myself. It's like, how can I create that sacred space? How can I allow myself to not be pushed around by what's going on in the external world, and just take the liberty, like I said in my, maybe not my last video, but the video before my catch up, you know, I don't do shoulds. I decided I'm not going to do shoulds. And that circle right there really represents that lesson for me. And it was a hard one lesson. Then something in the physical realm that I made great strides in during the light half of the year that I should celebrate. And I got the 5 of chalices. And a lot of times you think of this like a 5 of cups. How could that be something to celebrate? It so is, because the lesson of the 5 of cups is that there are things that are passing away and there are things that are available to us. And I needed to really understand that in my physical realm, that certain things were no longer available to me or should not be, that they were showing signs of needing to go, aspects of my business, ways of doing things on my channel, a lot of the things that I physically sow into all the time. And so, you know, I do need to celebrate this, that again, hard-won lessons, not easy, a little bit painful. The 5 of chalices does have some pain to it, but I do really celebrate the fact that I am moving away from holding on to things. And this is water. This is so interesting. Chalices, water. One of the things I felt for this year was really understanding the wells or the springs that I draw energy from in my life. And I had old wells and old springs that I was going to over and over again to give me a fresh drink of water, and they had dried up. And so I had to come to terms with that. I had to come to terms with what was passing away and let it go so that I could grab hold of the chalices that were still full, the wells and the springs that were still offering me sustenance in my life. And again, this was a rising. It really, coming back to the sun or the effulgence card here, you know, that energy really pushed on me as the sun gained momentum in the year. It really pushed on me and pushed out all of the icky and brought to fruition things that needed to be looked at. Number 5, the doorway to self that I am passing through or entering as I go into the dark half of the year. Now, I love the dark half of the year. It's really a favorite of mine. And to me, this feels much more positive than this up here, which is good. I could use that. I could use a little break. Thank you, universe. And I got the 4 of Wands. And so, you know, this is so interesting. This doorway of, to me, this is understanding what foundations have been laid, what assets I possess that are what's in my larder to cook with. You know, when I see the 4 of Wands, I see it as a foundational. And so this really represents what tent pegs I've driven in the ground, what is really available for me to build on, what solid foundation will be available to me all the way through the winter. And so this doorway that I'm walking through, this doorway to self, is understanding myself at a very deep foundational level and what about me I can really build on as I move into the dark half of the year. And then I move on to an important way to honor my inner world during the dark half. An important way to honor my inner world. And I got the 4 of Swords. It's so interesting. When I see this, I mean, this can mean what's the word I'm looking for? Like being disenchanted, but I don't think that's it. I think it's just rest. It's like really being able to just, or I shouldn't say disenchanted. That's not the word I'm looking for. It can mean a disconnect. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a disconnect. My cat's just scratching like crazy. I hope you can't hear her. It can mean a disconnect. in a good way, like disconnecting from everything that needs to be done, and especially the mind, disconnecting from the mind in order to rest. And that's really important for me because I feel like I'm moving into a feeling place. And as we dive down into the dark half of the year, it is about going within and understanding the inner workings of ourself. So I do need to honor rest. I do need to honor getting away and just getting out of my head and letting it be. That's a great card. And then over here, what should I allow to pass away or let go of during the dark half of the year? And I got the Wheel of Fortune. Here it's the Wheel of the Year. This is so interesting. My initial hit on this is just trying to make it happen. Now, you may not read this card like this, but what I get out of this is that I really need to let go of trying to push the wheel in any way. I need to, and I kind of see that up here in this message too, but again, it's accepting the seasons and cycles of myself and letting go, letting what needs to pass away, and not making, because this is the Wheel of Fortune, I have such a struggle with the word success. My Chiron is in Aries, which it is probably for a lot of you watching this. And so I struggle. My core wounding is about self, and it's in the 10th house, which is about work. And so to me, I think this is about really letting go some ideas about success and what it means to be fortunate. And I think as I let that go, there are going to be new things that come in and arise. Then over here, I've got, what card is this? This must be 8. What internal work did I begin in the light half of the year that I will reap greatly from in the dark half? And I got the High Priestess. This feels so self-explanatory, and I'm grateful. I'm like, wow, yes, I'll take that a million times over. Yes. And it's really being my magical self, being my witchy self. I really began diving into making this primary instead of making external things primary, really making internal work and loving myself and loving my magical self, loving my intuitive self, and creating a life that has supported that, that's that safe circle there. And I really started cultivating this right here. And again, letting go. And so that internal wisdom, that internal knowing. So I'm definitely going to reap big rewards as I continue down my magical path, which has really been at the forefront. My druidic, my magical, my natural witchery self. I'm going to reap big dividends on the internal world from the work that I began up here with all of this. And then here's the physical, what in the physical world did I begin that I will harvest from during the dark half of the year? And I got the Magician. I mean, you got to love that. I absolutely love it. I love that I got that I'm flanked. Oh my gosh, this is not the Magician. Excuse me. I thought it was the Magician, but that's so silly. Okay, changing this up, not the Magician. This is the High Priest, which is actually the Hierophant. But these two are the counterparts of each other, the High Priestess and the High Priest. Okay, so switching gears here. In the physical realm, I do feel like I really began to look at the structure of my spiritual life and creating structure and looking at what was a fit for me and what wasn't a fit for me, as far as like the dogmatic things that I had come into contact with and the ways in which I wanted to create some spiritual or magical practice structure in my life. And I've really begun that. And I feel like that physically will pay off as I move into this side of the year, because having rituals, having daily things that I do, having a regular magical practice is definitely, I think, going to pay off as I move down here. So that's interesting. I had seen that as the Magician, but that's not what it is. It's actually the Hierophant. Okay, so last but not least, my final thing, my wink from the universe, my encouragement in my magical world, it's pretty self-explanatory. Don't push the river, let it flow. That has been what I have had to learn. I have to stop pushing. I have to allow myself to live in a magical place where I'm trusting the flow of the river and I'm moving into that, following the sparkles instead of trying to make it happen all the time. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to do that anymore. I'm 51 and I'm ready to enjoy what I've created and what it affords me. There are things I want to do and achieve and create, but I don't need to push it. I can let it flow. And I'm old enough to know when I'm pushing it and when I'm not. When I was young, I just push. I was always trying to push. But, and I think that for me, like my Aries side, my rising sign is Cancer. So moving into that Cancer self is really fun. If you follow Real Sky Astrology, I'm a Pisces, which is a little bit about languishing or overthinking for me. I think I overthought things in my youth, and then moving into my Gemini self, which is definitely, it's mutable, changeable, allowing things to change, allowing things to flow, and allowing that to be who I am is that changeable self. Let it flow. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. You guys, if you made it this far, please leave me a comment down below. And thank you so much for being here. That's pretty amazing if you made it all the way to the end. I hope that you enjoyed this. And again, you can get this printout in the link down below. And until we meet again, may the summer solstice be the doorway to the next half of the year and a part of yourself that you are excited to discover.